Welcome to our webinar, How to Overcome Your Biggest Service of Process Challenges. My name is Anu Shaw and I will be your moderator. Joining us today are John Roche and Rick Miller. John is a senior corporate consultant for CSC and has been with the company since 2004. In that time, John has managed corporate client development with law firms, financial institutions, government agencies, and corporations. Rick is a sales engineer for CSC and is responsible for SOP Manager and CSC Matter Management, SaaS solutions. Rick's experience includes designing network solutions, consulting, project management, and technical training. And with that, let's welcome John and Rick.
Thank you, Anu. Good morning.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Rick Miller, and I'll be one of your hosts, and I'm joined today by my esteemed colleague, John Roche. John and I are here to talk about service of process today. Specifically, we're going to talk about the challenges that many organizations face, how some companies have overcome those challenges, and ultimately how CSC can help you achieve an organized, scalable, and complete solution. So John, let's talk about service of process. In our company, you're viewed as an expert in this area. Why in the heck are we sitting here talking about this today? And why does this get you excited?
Thank you, Rick. Really, I get excited about this. It is very important. It too often is treated as an afterthought or ignored because the process doesn't seem broken. But what we know is, how crucial it is for organizations in terms of their intake and processing of their SOP. And having learned, without a few tweaks, significant improvements can be realized for our clients. CSC has been providing registered agent for over 100 years. As a registered agent, we handle the intake and routing of service of process. For most of our existence, service of process was a very paper-intensive process. About 10 years ago, we started the change. CSC was at the forefront of that electronic delivery change. We introduced electronic delivery of SOP to our clients, and at that point, because of the infrastructure, the controls, the protocols that we had implemented, more than 90% of our SOP today is handled electronically for our clients.
Wow, so electronic delivery fixed all the problems that related to the intake of litigation?
Not really. It was an important first step. Electronic delivery is just a piece of the puzzle. And remember, service of process isn't just limited to litigation. Garnishments, other document types, foreclosure, subpoenas are related to that as well.
Okay, then what comes after electronic delivery? What's the next piece of the puzzle?
Well, I guess electronic delivery alone is just in terms of the movement of paper. Many organizations still need some type of way to monitor that the mailbox and push those emails to an appropriate contacts. In some cases, that person may just be printing out what they have, receiving their email, and basically back to the same paper processes with incremental improvements. What they need is something that they can handle the important job of accurately distributing an incoming incoming SOP to the responsible parties without manual intervention. CSC introduced its SOP Manager solution, which it had built from a rules engine that is capable of handling simple high-level distribution, for example, sending litigation in one direction and garnishments in another, along with complex and nuanced routing requirements. So if someone needs to route their breach of warranty litigation filed in California to a specific entity to somewhere different, they can handle that as well.
So we're adding efficiency, which usually means cost savings. And automated processes are consistent and predictable. So that has to help with reducing errors, right?
Correct. And we're helping our customers drive down costs and reducing their risk as well. From that, we're just getting started.
Lowering operating costs and risk reduction, what other challenges are law departments facing today?
Great question. They're really dealing with multiple sources of documents, disparate processes, no central system of recording or bringing everything together. It gets very difficult for a client, clients or law departments to tell who's really working on what. There's nothing in place for them to easily share documents in a workplace and really have real-time visibility in terms of the context of everything that's going on within a specific matter. And when they have time, to kind of rise out of the minutia, they lack the control and the tools that help them look at the overall landscape and identify opportunities to further enhance processes and to see any emerging patterns. This is really where the SOP Manager brings it all together into a single solution.
That sounds great, John, but what happens when this wonderful solution meets up with the real world?
That's a fair question. There's a couple customers that went through this transition that we've seen, and let's kind of take a look at things. For example, we worked with a large manufacturing organization. They had a very manual paper-based process. They were making 8 copies of everything. Each copy was placed in a different color-coded folder that would allow it to get shuffled into 8 different locations. Everything really ended up in a large storeroom where they were able to access the documents later. As you can imagine, finding anything within that process was a challenge, and ended up having to dig through thousands of files. Documents would be removed and then getting lost or buried on someone's desk. Their SOP volume started to increase, and they saw a huge spike in the number of default judgments as a result of these types of processes that they had in place. Valuable team members, attorneys, paralegals, were spending a ton of time on what was really viewed as low-value administrative work, just trying to keep some form of organization to the process. What we see are versions of this problem repeatedly at organizations at all sizes. We've seen it at large, mid-size, or even small organizations as well.
So how do you fix that?
It really starts by understanding the current processes and how they're being used. What works, what's not working, what's necessary, what's not. Why were things put in place? Because there was a reason that these types of processes were implemented. As we understand that, we work through that with each of our clients, understanding these processes and layering in our best practices that we've seen that have successfully worked for other clients. And we get them to an electronic automated process that will meet their specific needs, which they then can depend on moving forward. And we make sure that the solution is flexible and built to last. It has to be scalable so that their organization and SOP volumes change, that it can keep up with it. Once we translate their workflow into SOP Manager, they immediately start to realize these new efficiencies. It allows them to mature their processes by utilizing other capabilities in the solution, collaborating, searching, reporting, and much, much more. The best part of SOP Manager is that it's built to grow with our clients. As their needs evolve, the application can easily be reconfigured to meet these evolving needs.
That's great stuff. Do you take the same approach with every new customer?
Not really. I mean, it really depends on what the client's challenges are and where their pain points are. Here's another example. In this instance, the financial institution had a huge footprint across the country. They had gone through several rounds of acquisitions, and not surprisingly, they had left with quite a mess. They had 50 different processes for receiving and sending SOP. None of the documents ended up in the same place, and as a result, there was no sense of what was going on day to day. It's a scary proposition for an attorney and any organization to really understand what risk they may be facing without that type of transparency. Instead of trying to map their current workflow, what we ended up looking at was defining what their desired end state was. The last thing we wanted to do was recreate any of the existing problems, and this was an opportunity for us really to take it to a new level.
And what were the results of those efforts?
It was like they were opening their eyes for the first time. I mean, they really started to understand the true size of their SOP volume. They were utilizing the solution and a process that could handle that type of volume. Automated notifications, reminders, coupled with custom reporting, gave them oversight and controls that had been absent in the prior process. And again, the solution will grow as their needs evolve. To this point, we focused a little bit more on the solution. It's really worth noting the service team that stands behind the solution. This is our true strength in terms of what it is that we can deliver. We have a well-established history of backing our technology with a support team that is focused on providing timely and reliable results alongside superior client service. We know that every customer has a unique set of needs and potential problems or risks, and we cater our solutions to make sure we address those specific needs.
It sounds like CSE is able to bring about some significant value-added changes at these organizations.
Absolutely. I mean, let's talk about change for a moment. And we know that change can be hard, within an organization. Organizations that we've described above were heavily invested both financially and emotionally in their existing processes. But the word had changed around them, and they were faced with options. Trying something new or continuing wasn't sustainable. Part of the approach is focused on helping set the pace of change at a level that each organization can tolerate and is comfortable with. Our solution allows us to introduce changes and improvements to customer workflows incrementally so that they can ensure a successful adoption of the technology and these new processes.
Well, John, we're just about at the end of our time. Before we go, help us understand how an organization can determine if they need a solution like SOP Manager.
Sure. Companies really should be looking at our solution if their volumes are increasing, if there's more sophisticated routing that's required, if there's been an increased need to collaborate beyond email, or if they just want to evaluate their current process with our best practices and the recommendations that we've been implementing over the last 10 years. New volume, data, documents spread out all over the place, no line of sight of what's happening across your organizations, too much time spent manually sorting, routing documents. Any of these types of trends, really clients can find an immediate value to our solution. And if you're paying your registered agent service or process due to high volumes, you may want to ask if you're getting that kind of return or what kind of return you're getting on that spend. So to that point, we are quite confident that we can help you save both time and money, as well as get value as a result of these types of trends that we've discussed, that we're offering a $10 Starbucks gift card for yourself, or if you wish, to make a donation to the Ronald McDonald House of $10. It would require nothing more than a 15-minute brief consultation to kind of walk through what we discussed today.
Thank you, John and Rick. Okay, great. So we will now open up the Q&A session. As we mentioned in the presentation, we are confident that we can help you save time and get more value from your registered agent. So we're offering you a $10 Starbucks gift card for yourself, or we can make a $10 donation to the Ronald McDonald House on your behalf when you complete a complimentary 15-minute consultation and demonstration with us. Please click one of the options on your screen if you're interested in learning more about this service. And also, just as a reminder, you can download a copy of today's materials from the handouts box. So now let's take some questions from the audience. Janet's asking, we have a matter management solution already. Does that mean we can't use SOP Manager?
That's a great question. Actually, it's quite the opposite. We have clients that have an SOP Manager, had a matter management solution in place. In fact, there was administrative work to move a subset of their litigation into that type of solution. Our SOP Manager solution can easily integrate with those types of solutions, whether it's homegrown or commercially available matter management product that's being used. We can send relevant data and documents into that system. Feed would include anything collected by CSC, but you can also add additional content through our SOP Manager solution as well that can be delivered into the matter management system.
Thank you. Rob is asking, my boss loves paper. How do I convince him to give it up?
I'd say that's a great question. I guess it depends why. If he wants the paper to be able to read it and things like that, I have a boss that prints out email. That's one thing. But if it's another in terms of comfort, in terms of the process, then there may be something more to that, and we can help build that business case. Most often the connection to paper is based on the idea that the process is working, but really if you have a second set of eyes, you can get a sense that it really isn't. And the reality is that people have the paperwork by taking on maybe lower value activities to counter the inherent inefficiencies of a paper process. There's also a natural resistance to change because it's uncomfortable, and chances are your organization may have run into some of the challenges that come along with paper. For example, the inefficiencies, lack of control, not really any kind of transparency to the system itself. The system may not be scalable, or even the fact that paper represents a single point of failure, right? If something were to occur to that document. Today there's been many advantages that we've highlighted that come with a well-managed electronic process. Solutions to these types of problems that you're encountering, I'm confident are we can address through not only the service level that we have, but also through the tool that we've outlined here on the demonstration. And we can put together a transition plan that will work for your organization. Starting from the onboarding with a high-level conversation to what your existing processes are, what you feel your pain points are, observations by our service team in terms of what we find, what the ultimate objective is by bringing the system to fruition. And we recommend, an approach based on your situation, the practices that we've learned and can implement at a rate or a timeline that would be comfortable to you and your organization.
Great, thank you. Jen just wrote in, we've been with our current registered agent forever. How do I convince my organization to change?
Great question. One of my favorites, I would say. Really, I think the first place you would want to start is what's your return on that investment? What are you getting in terms of the investment with that registered agent, especially if you're paying something that's called excess service of process, which is a fee charged when you have high volumes of service being versus the amount of units of representation under management by that registered agent provider. Most would look at this as a penalty. And clients in that circumstance, you're right? I mean, but in the end, what we can deliver with our solution is a much stronger return. The additional value around collaborating, reporting, searching versus the cost that you're incurring, really gives you a better tool in terms of handling your SOP, but actually, you can use it as a mechanism to drive down some of your other costs within your organization associated with your litigation process. I mean, there's huge savings that can be had just by moving from paper, but most clients are using an electronic process with email, and there certainly are some real benefits to evolving from that process to a process using our SOP Manager solution as well, where you're able to automate distribution, increase controls, have improved visibility, transparency to your process. Any type of reporting can be managed through our solution as well. So it's far more sophisticated to meet the growing needs of a corporate legal department, especially in an environment where the trend of litigation continues to increase. I mean, there's no real we haven't seen a decrease in 10 years in terms of the amount of service that comes to our door.
Okay, thank you. So Steve is following up on something you mentioned earlier. You talked about the challenges of dealing with change. How do you work with the company to help adjust to change?
Well, I guess it really comes out in terms of the business case. If the question is related to moving from a paper or an email process to something that's much more digital, and through that we've assisted clients in terms of outlining what their strategic priorities are within their corporate legal department and how our solution can integrate into something like that. And it helps promote the change that's required to communicate across an organization beyond the corporate legal department, especially if you're dealing with third parties, or other elements within, that may be impacted by this type of transition. So we've been very successful in partnering, with our clients to help, outline those types of changes.
Great. So Diane's asking if you could talk a little bit more about the types of reports that are available.
Sure. I mean, really, any of the parameters within the solution that are, that are captured can be reported against. The reporting engine and the feedback that we receive from our clients has been almost at times overwhelming. I mean, they really appreciate and take value in the reporting process. And if I were to summarize in one kind of sentence, okay, what they feel of it, it's like, I don't need an IT degree to figure out how to do this. It's a very simple, straightforward process, 2 to 3 steps. What data do you want to summarize within the report? How do you want it organized? Are there subsets that you want? And then through that process, you are able to generate a report that can be in a nice PDF that you may want to be able to present, or download it into Excel if you want to further manipulate the data from the system. But any of the data elements associated with the matter that are being used to index the matter or the document itself can be can be generated and downloaded into a report.
Can you give us a little bit more information about what the demo and consultation entails for the folks who are signing up?
Sure. I mean, really, the consultation would be just an opportunity for us to better understand what your current processes are, you know, why and how you got to the point that you have related to that, and then to contrast and make some observations based on what we have seen in terms of successfully implementing opportunities that we can to improve the process. You know, within the 15 minutes, if it makes sense to kind of show or demonstrate an element of the you know, of the solution, we certainly would do that. And you know, we can have that kind of conversation with an individual or a team of individuals, you know, as the client would see fit.
Okay, great. So thank you for the information, and thank you to everybody who participated today. We will contact you with the response after the webinar if we didn't get to your question online. We hope to see you next time. Thank you.